Can the Maple Leafs tame the Florida Panthers once more tonight? We're live with Toronto fans looking ahead to Game 2 of Round 2.
And no Pope today. Black smoke emerges from the Sistine Chapel's chimney. That means more than 100 cardinal electors return for more rounds of voting tomorrow. We're going to have more on the first day of an historic conclave.
And how do you feel about taking a gondola to Toronto Island? We have reaction to an idea that's resurfaced at City Hall as Toronto looks to build a permanent link to the islands.
This is Live at 5. Good evening. I'm Bakari Sapp.
And I'm Lena Latafat. Thanks for joining us and welcome to Live at 5. Leafs fans will be packing Maple Leaf Square once again tonight after their big series opening win on Monday.
Let's go live to CP24's Beatrice Vaisman, who's checking in with the Leafs faithful. Beatrice.
The tailgate party just opened a couple of seconds ago, Bakari and Lena. The fans are excited. Great energy out here. And here we are 2 hours still till puck drop. Let's talk to some of these fans. Boys, what are you hoping for tonight? Obviously, a win would be nice, but what else?
We're hoping for the win, of course. We're at home. It's kind of sad that, Stolarz got hurt, but we still have to be confident in Woll. I'm sure he's under a lot of pressure. But, we just have to hope for the win and continue this in Florida.
Yeah, we talk a lot about deja vu for Leafs fans, and hopefully this won't be. But, deja vu in terms of Woll having to come in during the playoffs and save the day. How much faith do you have in Joseph Woll?
You know what? To be honest, I have faith. I remember 2 years ago, he got us to the second round against Florida. Even though he didn't do too well against Florida, that's the past. We have to leave that behind and just go forwards.
What are your thoughts on Sam Bennett and what retribution looks like against the Panthers?
You know what? It kind of sucks that happened. Do I think it was dirty? Kind of. I do feel like he should have gone into suspension, but you know what? The game is the game. If it's an accident, it's an accident. But we just have to focus on the game at the end of the day. Yeah. We can't focus on the other players.
What are you hoping for tonight, bud?
Hoping the Leafs win 100%. And I'm really only here because I'm going with him.
You're the +1.
Yeah, basically.
But a win would be nice.
Yeah.
Let's check it over here. You've got this necklace going. Is this your kind of like noisemaker? You've got the hat on.
Battle now.
Is your lucky hat?
We're going to battle. Yeah, this is the lucky hat. We're going to battle tonight for what happened last night, the last game, and we're going to go play our game, and then hopefully we'll come up with another win.
And you've got tickets inside tonight, right? What do you think the energy is going to be like?
It's going to be ecstatic. It's going to be absolutely insane. I hope. We got to get behind the guys and help them out the best we can.
What do you make of Stolarz being out, Joseph Woll being in, and retribution?
Woll was out there for us last year until he got injured. He's going to do a great job, and the crowd's going to back him.
Got faith.
100%. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What about the core five? Nylander?
They got to wake up. They're doing well right now, but they just got to get a couple more points and get strong.
Awesome. Enjoy the game.
Yes,
Thanks so much. Thank you. Listen, the energy is great, guys, and it will be all night long. We'll be live at Maple Leaf Square for you. I'll see you back at 5:30 live inside those gates, chatting with some more of the fans.
Okay. Well, when you come back, Beatrice, I hope you have that Leaf scarf because you don't have it on right now. So.
Yeah, where is your lucky scarf,
I
Beatrice?
saved that for a special occasion. That'll come later in the series.
Right.
When that's the clincher. It worked last time, didn't it?
It did.
It sure did.
It did. All right, thanks. Bye, Beatrice. Okay, for more on what to expect from Game 2, we're now joined live by TSN Radio's Matt Cauz. Okay, Matt, we talked about how important that W was in the first game. A couple of lineup changes to talk about. Joseph Woll starting for the Leafs. Anthony Stolarz is out. Let's talk about this.
Yeah, I want to contradict those two gentlemen that Beatrice was speaking with earlier. Joseph Woll, the last time he had to come in as an injury replacement against Boston last year, he was great in games 5 and 6, made like 49 of 51 saves, won them game 5 and 6. He got injured, did not play in game 7 last year that the Leafs lost. So I'm pretty confident in Joseph Woll tonight. I know he didn't look great in the last game, but he had to come in cold. The Leafs do have an excellent defense. I think Joseph Woll is not going to be an issue.
Craig Berube asked his players not to retaliate against Sam Bennett for that hit on Stolarz, saying that the best revenge is winning. But I want to ask you if you think emotions could get the best of these players on the ice tonight.
I could absolutely see it. I will say, though, that the Maple Leafs They looked really mature at the end of game one, where you saw Matthew Tkachuk trying to start something with Mitch Marner, and Mitch Marner did not take the bait. The best thing the Leafs can do, don't try to outgoon the goons. That's what the Florida Panthers are best at. That'd be like me challenging LeBron James to a dunk contest. I'm not going to win. The Leafs shouldn't do that. The most important thing, play mature, play their game, and don't get sucked into into retribution, because that'll only help the Florida Panthers.
Okay, so, Matt, listen, the Leafs got that pivotal first game W that you mentioned. Let's talk about moving forward, especially in light of, Stolarz not being a part of game two. What do you see happening?
I am so curious about the first half of the first period, not just because of any sort of anger or emotion towards Sam Bennett. I want to see what the Florida Panthers looked like. They were really bad in the first period, and I'm curious to see, do they play at a higher level? I expect a higher level of intensity, fewer mistakes than they did in game one. On the other side, the Maple Leafs power play was 0 for 5. That obviously can get better. Austin Matthews had some chances but wasn't able to score. The Leafs were the better team, and people are saying, well, they'll regress. They still have a ceiling to go to tonight, but I think a lot of it will just depend on what they look like in the first period in tonight's game.
Okay.
All right. TSN Radio's Matt Cauz. Always good to get your insights. Thanks so much for this, and chat soon.
Thanks, Matt.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, it's 5:06. Let's get a check on the evening commute with TP24 traffic specialist Agile and Cialia Block. Good evening, Aj.
Oh, good afternoon, Bakari and Lena. Yeah, it has been quite the tough and slow commute this afternoon for the drive. And a bit of good news, because I'm not always the bearer of bad things. So eastbound on the 401, this is just as you make your way on the Passport Union, actually. We had a collision. It was in the two right lanes in the collectors. Problems just cleared, so this is why you're running into this unusually busyness through this stretch. 401 on the west, it's busiest from the Don Valley Parkway, continues though to Martin Grove, but checking in problem-free. Niagara bound to QEW, had some problems just past the 427. Also long-standing situation just cleared seconds ago. And the Gardner remains busy as you try to make your way out of and head in to the downtown core. Again, lane restrictions because of the long-term road work. On city streets, a collision blocking lanes on Bayview and Pottery Road. I'll send it back to you both.
This CP24 traffic report is brought to you by 407 ETR. Enjoy the journey with a stress-free commute.
Well, the first ballots have been cast at the Conclave to choose a new leader of the Catholic Church.
Black smoke billowed out of the Sistine Chapel late today, indicating no pope was elected in the first round. A new pope requires a 2/3 majority or 89 votes. When that happens, the smoke coming out of the chimney, it'll be white.
And the vote happened about 4 hours after 133 cardinals entered the Sistine Chapel and took their oaths of secrecy. Up to 4 votes will be held each day to elect a successor to Pope Francis. If voting goes for 4 days without a result, cardinals will take the 5th day off to pray and reflect before voting begins again.
This is a huge a moment in the life of the church, the election of the faithful shepherd, the global shepherd of more than 1 billion Catholics around the world. And I said, I hope you sleep well tonight. And it struck me as I was going to bed last night, one of those men who will be Pope isn't going home. It's a huge, immense responsibility. We're all obviously excited and energized by the conclave process, but it's a very real experience.
And stay with CP24 as we bring you the latest from the Vatican regarding the conclave. And of course, for more on the selection of the new pope, just head to CP24.com or the CP24 app.
It's now 5:08, 22 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
More than half a dozen speed cameras damaged in York region. We're going to tell you where with CP24's crime analyst, Steve Ryan. That's next. Mayor Olivia Chow's executive committee is set to consider a report on establishing a permanent link to the Toronto Islands.
City staff have been looking at different proposals for a connection over the waterway separating Wards Island from the Portlands. They include bridges, a gondola, and a tunnel. The report says a fixed link would have to allow ships to pass through, but be low enough to not disrupt flight paths. It also says any option would cost a minimum of $100 million and take at least 10 years to complete. The committee is expected to review the report next week. And for a closer look at this and all of the ideas proposed, we're joined live by Deputy Mayor and Spadina Fort York Councillor Asma Malik. Councillor Malik, thanks so much for joining us. Good to see you. A bridge, a tunnel, even an overhead gondola. There's lots to consider here. Why is it so complicated, though, to get something like this done?
Well, first and foremost, we're into beautiful weather. It's summer, and there's nothing more that we love as Torontonians than being on Toronto Island. And it has been my priority to improve access to the Toronto Island in any way that we can, and to make sure that we have better connections when we get there. So I have been adamant into making sure that staff have been directed to look at all the ways that we can get people to the island to enjoy it. And what I'm really excited about in this report is that it covers options that look at the short, medium, and long-term options that we have, and to make sure that everything is on the table. And what we have in front of us is the consideration of a fixed active transportation link, a fixed pedestrian cycling link to the island. And I think it deserves a really close look. And I'm really excited to see that there's direction about the feasibility and the viability of this, because we know that our harbor and our waterfront is a very active place. There's a lot happening there, and there's a lot of very important considerations in order to see how an idea like this can be implemented well.
Well, speaking of a closer look and implementation, we're talking about what? $100 million and a decade. I'd like for you to address those two items, but also what's going on with the ferries. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about the condition of them and, getting an electric ferry, all of this in the interim.
Yeah, first and foremost, something like a fixed link to get us to the island, pedestrian and cycling access is really exciting. And what we have in this report is a dedicated task force that brings together the expertise of city staff and the organization of Waterfront Toronto to take a closer look at what that feasibility and viability is. What are we looking at in terms of costs? What are we looking at in terms of consideration and the use of our harbor and our waterfront? What are we looking at in terms of the time frame that this can actually be done? And that is a really important step forward that I'm looking forward to, and that we're not just limiting ourselves to a fixed link. That task force will also be able to take forward some of the very important and interesting ideas that have come to council and to the city about access to the island over the last while. In terms of what we are doing to improve access to the island right now, we have moved forward with improvements even for this season, and that means a better passenger experience at the ferry terminal, making sure that there's shade structures, that you have better lineups, that you can get your ticketing done in a more efficient way. And we have new ferries, electric ferries, higher capacity ferries that will get us to the island and back in a better way, that are landing next year. And that's really exciting for all of us who love the island and love summer in the city.
Okay, Deputy Mayor and Spadina Fort York Councillor Asma Malik. Hey, thanks a lot for your time this afternoon.
Thanks so much.
Evening, rather. Okay, Toronto police have identified one of 3 suspects wanted in a break-and-enter and sexual assault investigation. They're looking for 48-year-old Luis Alfonso Baltazar Perez. 3 men are reported to have entered a victim's residence. This is near Dufferin and St. Clair, happening February 11th. So according to police, they left shortly after, but one of the men accused returned and sexually assaulted a victim. Until the suspects have not been identified, and Perez is wanted for break-and-enter and sexual assault.
Well, York police are appealing for witnesses after a number of speed enforcement cameras were damaged in Vaughan.
So investigators say the incidents happened between January 11th and April 24th. The cameras located on Peter Rupert Avenue, Hilda Avenue, and New Westminster Drive, they were damaged on 9 separate occasions. One person's been charged, but police are asking anyone with information or dash cam footage come forward.
And our crime analyst Steve Ryan's been following the story very closely. He joins us live in studio. You were in Vaughan earlier, getting reaction to this, learning more about this. We've seen this sort of scenario play out in places like Toronto as well, Steve. What stands out to you about these situations?
Well, they are repetitive. So not only is one person expressing their displeasure for these cameras, and look, nobody likes tickets. Nobody likes speed cameras. Nobody likes the cops stopping to give you a ticket. But you got to put it in perspective. You can't just go around and destroy public property because you don't like it. And not to mention, not only is it a criminal offense, but there's also restitution to be paid as well. I spoke with one of the officers up in York earlier on today, and he said that it's very expensive to repair the damage that has been done. So that's what's going on in New York right now, and they're still looking for somebody who they believe is responsible, or people responsible for 7 other incidents. There's been 8. They've charged one person with one of those counts of mischief, but there are other 7 still outstanding that need to be solved.
Steve, I mean, this is a little bit ridiculous, right? This is happening Parkside Drive in Toronto. This is happening in Vaughan. People are fed up with all of this, but it's not the answer.
No. Again, nobody likes tickets. Look, full disclosure, I've got 3 of those radar photo camera things myself. So nobody likes them. But you don't go out and destroy thousands of dollars worth of equipment because you're not happy with what's going on today. And don't forget that these are all strategically put in place by the police. It's all intelligence-led. So these are very concerning locations, schools where kids play. And this is why these cameras are in place. But nobody likes them, but this is not what you do.
Yeah, you're going to get no judgment from me, Steve. I want to ask you about who pays for these cameras once they're damaged.
The city has to pay for the repairs, and then the city then can go after those who are charged, and if convicted of this crime of mischief, then they can go after these people to get restitution for the damage that was caused. And
could you face jail time for something like this? What do the charges look like?
Well, you could. Unlikely, but you could. Mischief is the charge. Mischief is the property. Now, depending, the threshold is over 5,000 or under 5,000, depending on the property that's been damaged. But given the fact that these cameras are put in place for community safety reasons, it wouldn't surprise me if you were convicted of this crime as an aggravating factor. You could see some jail time, but unlikely. But it really is. It's a nuisance more than anything else.
Okay, so Steve, I have to ask. We are talking about cameras. Is there no footage of people actually coming up to remove the cameras? And then also, what's the likelihood of somebody actually coming forward saying, yeah, I saw this happening. I have dash cam footage of it.
That might happen. And this is why the police have got this public appeal on right now, because there may be some people or a person who knows somebody who may have done this and just going to drop a dime. That's all they need to do. But the police are really struggling. I know it's humorous in the sense that people are being people, and they go out there and they're damaging solid property that costs a lot of money. But it is very serious as well. So the cops are looking for those who are their goal is to destroy radar cameras. They'll be found. Eventually, they'll be found.
Okay, Steve Ryan, live in studio tonight. Steve, thanks so much for this. It's now 5:18, 20 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
And Premier Doug Ford breaking down his meeting today with Mark Carney and fellow premiers. The Prime Minister offering more insight on his meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump. Okay, well, there's more reaction today as Prime Minister Mark Carney briefed Canadian premiers on his meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump.
CP24's Phil Perkins joins us live with more on what Doug Ford had to say following that call this afternoon. Phil.
Hey, Lena and Bakari. It was almost like a victory lap for Prime Minister Mark Carney after what many, at least in Queen's Park, in particular Doug Ford, thought was a very successful and constructive face-to-face meeting with President Donald Trump at the Oval Office yesterday. Carney met with Ford and the other provincial and territorial premiers, and they talked about some of their priorities here. But first, it seems like, again, as I mentioned, kind of a victory lap for Carney after this meeting. And here's what Premier Ford had to say about how the meeting went and how they addressed the newly elected Prime Minister.
We just had a great conversation with the Prime Minister and all the premiers. We all congratulated him on his victory, but also congratulated him on how well he did yesterday and the restraint he showed. I don't think I'd have the restraint that he had yesterday, to be very frank, but in saying that, I think it's a good start on a new relationship. I saw President Trump said really kind things when he just tweeted out, so that's good. It's good for the country. It's good for the U.S.
And all the premiers were there, including Alberta Premier Danielle Smith, who has made it publicly known that Alberta has been putting in a list out there for Albertans to sign if they want to separate from this country. But despite that, Premier Ford said that this animosity between himself and Premier Smith is all just not real. He went on to say that he could literally call Danielle Smith up, tell her to come to Toronto, they can go for lunch. He also, again, more praise for the Prime Minister, saying that Mark Carney has been showing love to the western provinces like Saskatchewan and Alberta, and then taking another shot, like he did yesterday, about outgoing Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, saying that Trudeau did not show any love to the western provinces. So again, it seems like this was a pretty good meeting with everybody. Back to you guys.
All right, Phil Perkins, live in our newsroom tonight. Thanks so much, Phil. It's 5:23, 20 degrees out there. You're watching Live at 5.
And Toronto's doubling up on playoff hockey action tonight. Coming up, we're going to head to Coca-Cola Coliseum. This is where the Scepters began their postseason run against the Minnesota Frost.
Welcome back. The Leafs aren't the only playoff action in town tonight. The Toronto Scepters open the Professional Women's Hockey League playoffs here at home against the defending champion, the Minnesota Frost.
Well, CTV's Raheem Ladani joins us live from Coca-Cola Coliseum with a preview. Okay, Raheem, it looks like the fans are starting to line up behind you. Puck drop is at 7 o'clock. Can people still get tickets?
Hey, Bakari and Lena. Bakari, absolutely. Tickets are still available. The gates open at 5:45, and I know it seems a little quiet right now, but there is a lineup of fans just to my left, and it's going to be a rockin' house, and this is why. This barn fits more than 9,000 fans, and they've been selling out throughout the regular season. More than 9,000 fans on average came to every Toronto Scepters game in the regular season. That's the highest across the PWHL. The other reason why there are going to be so many people here is because this is the rematch fans had been hoping for. They wanted the Scepters to play the Frost after what happened last year, and they got it. So let me take you back to last season. The Scepters had a commanding 2-0 series lead. It looked like they were going to advance, but then star forward Natalie Spooner went down with an injury. It ended her season, and everything changed. The Frost ended up fighting back, beating the Scepters, and they went on to go and win the inaugural Walter Cup. We spoke with the Scepters general manager this morning, and she says the team's not looking at it as a revenge series, but it's really hard not to when you look at what the Scepters did in this offseason to try to prepare for it. They got some more depth scoring, something they didn't have after Spooner went down, and so they want to be more prepared for this kind of a scenario if it does become a reality. It's going to be interesting to see. The Scepters had a sluggish start to the season, and they lost 3 of their final 4 games, but this is the playoffs. It's a slate clean, new beginnings, and there's going to be a lot of energy here. Bakari and Lena.
That is for sure, Raheem. And many are saying that this is going to be a tough battle, and I think that's going to make for a really interesting game. Is that what you're hearing as well?
Yeah, absolutely, Lena. Here's the thing. Minnesota Frost, even though they come into this playoff series below the Toronto Scepters in terms of the standings, they are still the defending champions. And so until you knock off the champions, they still are that. And so you have to come with your A game. I spoke with Kenzie Lalonde of TSN, and she says the big key for the Scepters is they need to start on time, score a goal in the first period. So we'll be watching for that. Reporting live, I'm Raheem Ladani. I'll send it back to you both in studio.
All right, CTV's Raheem Ladani. Raheem, thanks a lot for this coverage. Right now it's 5:28, 20 degrees. This is Live at 5.
And we are counting down to puck drop as the Maple Leafs take on the Florida Panthers in Game 2. This is a live shot from Maple Leaf Square where fans are once again getting ready for a big party this evening. We're going to have more on all that excitement next.
Can the Maple Leafs tame the Florida Panthers once more tonight? We are live with Toronto fans. Here's a live look at Maple Leaf Square, looking ahead to Game 2 of Round 2.
No Pope named yet. Black smoke emerges from the Sistine Chapel's chimney, and that means more than 100 cardinal electors return for more rounds of voting tomorrow. We're going to have more on the first day of a historic conclave.
And we're going to take you to Vaughan this hour, where police are investigating after 9 separate speed cameras were destroyed. We're going to tell you about the man linked to the incidents.
You're watching Live at 5. Good evening, and thanks for joining us. I'm Lena Latifat.
I'm Bakari Savage. Leafs fans are going to be packing Maple Leaf Square again tonight. This is after their big series opening win on Monday.
We're live now to CP24's Beatrice Faisman, who's checking in with the Leaf faithful. Wow, it's loud where you are tonight, B.
The cowbell is back.
Still an hour and a half to go until the puck is dropped, and it's a lot of energy. It's very loud. The cowbells are going. The fans are excited, and they're hoping the players will be able to hear them once the game actually gets underway tonight. Again, Game 2, Round 2 against the reigning Stanley Cup champions. I'm going to talk to some fans. They won't be able to hear me, but let's give it our best try. I know it's loud. What are you expecting? What are you hoping for tonight in Game 2, other than a win?
So I'm hoping for like a 5-0 win tonight. I just want this crowd to get going. Love 5 goals. But just for the parlay, I'd love if Austin Matthews puts one in the net.
Woo! That'd be nice. That'd be nice. What about Sam Bennett and the fact that, he took out our goalie, Anthony Stolarz, Joseph Woll starting in net tonight? Do you have faith?
I would have really loved if they brought Ryan Reeves back. maybe get a little rough in the corners, maybe draw the gloves with them, but I don't know. We'll see. We need something to rough them up, though.
What does revenge look like tonight against the Panthers?
It looks like showing them this is our fucking game and sending them home.
We're going to apologize to our viewers for that language. We're going to apologize to our viewers for that language. Let's talk to some more of the fans here, though. What are your hopes for tonight? How do we slay the Panthers?
Oh, lots of energy and bringing the noise.
Who in the core five has to perform?
Can you repeat that?
You have faith in our goalie, Joseph Wall, tonight?
Oh, of course. He always plays good in the playoffs, and we always play good with him in net.
And here's the energy, Lena and Bakari. I mean, you can feel it. There's a new energy for this team, and we've got lots of signs saying this is our year. Of course, Leafs fans believe that every single year, but it feels different this year. We'll be checking with the fans here at Maple Leaf Square through this half hour. Back to you.
All right, Beatrice Vaisman, looks like the party has already started. Thanks, Bea. The Leafs hit the ice at Scotiabank Arena this morning ahead of tonight's game against the Panthers.
Anthony Solars was not present for today's skate, indicating that it will be Joseph Wall in net as the Leafs try to take a 2-0 series lead. Solars was removed from Game 1 after suffering a head injury. And Wall gave up 3 goals on 20 shots after taking over, but the Leafs still won 5-4.
What's different, obviously, with each goalie? But I don't think there's a lot of adjustments that need to be made. I think with a goalie playing the puck, there's certain things that we're going to do a little differently with Wool in there instead of Stolars.
Stolars do it today, correct?
Yeah, he's fine. He's recovering. He's doing okay.
I think we've got a lot of confidence in him. He's extremely focused. Does all the right things, and it's not easy getting just thrown into the fire like that. But obviously tonight he'll be prepared and ready to go. And like I said, a lot of confidence in him.
Very calm. I think just tries to trust his game and how he goes about his preparation and what he needs to do to go in there and do a good job and stop the puck. So obviously got some experience coming in the middle of a series. So that always can help when you can rely on some experience and been through it a little bit. You get a little bit of a feel of what that's like. So we got all the faith in him. He's always played tremendous hockey here for us over this season and his time here. So I know he's excited about getting the opportunity.
And again, puck drop is at 7 o'clock tonight.
Right now, it's 5:35. Let's check on the evening commute with CP24's traffic specialist, Adjoa Ntiyaboa. Adj, I was sure to say evening, not afternoon this time.
We're creeping into the afternoon, but we're still in rush hour because it never ends here in the GTA. So if you're trying to make your way home from work and school, or maybe head downtown to Maple Leaf Square, you are in for big delays if you're on the 401 trying to get out of Scarborough. So westbound 401, this is in the collectors through Kennedy. Stalled transport truck. It is the right lane and shoulder that is blocked, and definitely seeing a little bit of a delay from Brimley. Not so bad, though. You can avoid it by sticking with the Express. Now, traveling on the rest of the 401, it's busy across the top of the city, but no other issues. Was getting word of some problems on the 403. Might have just been through Eglinton or Matheson. Haven't spotted it yet. It's on the westbound side. And once I do, I'll definitely keep you in the know and taking a peek at that Gardner if you are headed towards Maple Leaf Square. It is a tough drive as you make your way into and head out of the downtown core. Just gridlock because of these long-term road work. On city streets, just a reminder, a pretty serious collision in Etobicoke is blocking the intersection of Kipling and Eglinton. I'll send it back to you both.
Thanks, Adjoa.
You're welcome.
New York police are appealing for witnesses after a number of speed enforcement cameras were damaged in Vaughan.
Investigators say that the incident happened between January 11th and April 24th. Cameras located on Peter Rupert Avenue, Hilda Avenue, and New Westminster Drive. They were damaged on 9 separate occasions. One person has been charged, but police are asking anyone with information or dash cam footage of the 2 incidents to come forward. So right now, we're going to speak live with CP24's crime analyst, Steve Ryan. Steve, 9 separate incidents?
Yeah, 9 counts of mischief. So mischief happens when you destroy property that's not your own, of course. So these are criminal investigations, and the York police are actively trying to find those responsible for damaging those cameras on 8 or 9 different occasions. We just showed that clip we're showing right now on Peter Rupert Avenue. I was up there today. That camera's been damaged 5 times, and local residents are very concerned. They said to me, because it's a 40 zone for kids. There's a lot of kids in the area here. So those cameras are put in place. It's intelligence led. So they have information that leads the police to believe that these are high traffic areas that need to have a reduction in speed. So it's pretty serious when you put the cameras in to begin with, and not to mention people just going out and wrecking them because they're not happy with them. And that's something that the police will get down to the bottom of.
Yeah, look, nobody likes getting a speeding ticket. We've talked about that. You've pointed that out. But as you really pointed out just now, community members are also counting on these cameras to help people slow down. And it's very expensive to replace them, as you're learning, Steve.
Yeah, very expensive to replace them. And these aren't just cash cows for cities. They are put in place to reduce speeds that helps reduce collisions, helps reduce pedestrians being struck by vehicles. So there's a lot of thought goes into where these cameras are located. And the officer I spoke with today said that the city will replace them, repair the damages, but it's very expensive. So if somebody is arrested and convicted, the courts can ask for that person who's convicted to pay restitution for the damage that they caused. It can be very expensive.
Okay, so Steve, you said this is Peter Rupert, right?
Yeah.
So this speed camera, you literally have to climb a pole in order to get up to, like, what are people doing? Like, climbing this pole? That's different from the ones on Parkside where it's, just a standalone camera. You can just knock that over.
Yeah, and you make a good observation there. The cameras here on Peter Rupert are elevated, but the wires are still accessible. And what the officer was saying today, because I asked him, how are some of the ways in which they commit this mischief? And he said they're cutting the wires. They're doing whatever they can to make these cameras inoperable.
Okay, Steve Ryan, live in studio. Thanks so much for this, Steve.
Thanks, Steve. Right now it's 5:39, 20 degrees. This is Live at 5.
The Cardinals are sequestered in the Sistine Chapel, but no decision yet on a new pope. We have the very latest on the conclave coming up.
Well, the first ballots have been cast at the conclave to choose a new leader of the Catholic Church.
Black smoke poured out of Sistine Chapel late today, indicating no pope was elected in this first round. A new pope requires a 2/3 majority, or 89 votes. When that happens, the smoke coming out of the chimney will be white.
Well, the vote happened about 4 hours after 133 cardinals entered the Sistine Chapel and took their oaths of secrecy. Up to 4 votes will be held each day to elect a successor to Pope Francis. If voting goes for 4 days without a result, cardinals will take the 5th day off to pray and reflect before voting starts again.
And for more on the conclave, we're joined live tonight by Reid Lachlan, Associate Religion Professor at the University of Toronto and St. Michael's College. Thank you so much for joining us. It's good to have you on.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
Not a total surprise that we saw black smoke emerge from the chimney of the Sistine Chapel today. We haven't had, though, a conclave go over 5 days since the 19th century. How long do you think this can go for?
So since 1958, the conclaves have all been between 2 and 4 days. So, I mean, I would be surprised if it goes beyond 3 days, but one of the rules of conclaves is that they sometimes surprise. So.
Okay, so along with that, let's talk a little bit of history, if we can. So these cardinals, they have to give up their cell phones. The airways have been jammed. Okay, this is 2025, right? Let's go all the way back to 1270. This is when sort of the conclave, the cardinals had to be sequestered because, before that, it took like 3 years, right? To choose
in that one instance, yes. Yeah.
So come on, talk about that.
So,
Give
I mean,
us the
election of the Pope has taken different forms throughout history. One of the things that's important to take note of is that the cardinals have sort of a special role. They represent highly placed priests of the Diocese of Rome. The Pope is the Bishop of Rome. And so from time going way back, he was elected by his priests and acclaimed by the people. And so that's the way that it was done. What happened is that these roles eventually were assigned to particular highly placed officials in the Catholic Church. It didn't always go well. Sometimes it was hard, in many cases, to select a pope. The example that you're talking about was in Viterbo, a community outside of Rome, when the cardinals just would not elect a pope, and eventually those who were there closed them in, restricted their diet to bread and water, and eventually removed the roof so that they were exposed to the elements. So then finally they had to make a choice. And then shortly thereafter, the rules were regularized a bit more.
Okay, I want to talk about the big decision that these cardinal electors face. Do they select a pontiff that follows in the footsteps of Pope Francis, somebody who advocated for peace, who was considered incredibly charismatic, very progressive? Or do they take the Catholic Church in a different direction? Can you talk more about that?
Sure. I mean, and the answer is that we don't know exactly what they're thinking. Most of the cardinal electors, overwhelming majority of them, like 4/5, were appointed by Francis. I think it would be surprising if they didn't choose somebody who understood themselves as, working within his legacy. And certainly the little bit of information we know about their meetings before the conclave suggests that there was a strong sense that they wanted continuity, some kind of continuity. Mm-hmm. But they also, it'll be a new pope. And so I always say, there's a joke that after a fat pope, there's a skinny pope, that they also are looking for somebody who's different. And there may be things about Francis's legacy that they also are concerned about and want to correct. So, I mean, one could imagine a pope who's very much committed to Pope Francis's vision of the church, but maybe his personality is very different, right? He might be more reserved. That happened between Benedict and John Paul II. John Paul II was this larger-than-life figure. Benedict was this figure who really represented John Paul II's legacy, but was much more reserved, was a very different person. One could also imagine that they pick somebody who has the same kind of evangelical, larger-than-life presence of Francis, but has some different priorities. And so all of those things are possible. I think there's going to be some continuity, and there will also be some change. That is guaranteed.
Okay, Reed Lachlan, Associate Religion Professor at the University of Toronto and St. Michael's College. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
And stay with CP24 as we bring you the latest from the Vatican and Conclave. We're giving you a live shot from a very quiet St. Peter's Square this hour. This was packed just hours ago. And if you're looking for more information on the selection of a new pope, it's really a fascinating process. You can head to CP24.com. We've got lots more information there for you. You'll also find that on our app, the CP24 app.
Right now it's 5:46, 20 degrees. This is Live at 5.
The Toronto District School Board is providing an update into a data breach and a ransom that didn't quite pay off. More on that coming up.
Well, new developments today in a cybersecurity leak involving a student data information system used by the Toronto District School Board.
The cloud-based Power School program was hacked last year, and data relating to students and their families was stolen. At the time, Power School said the information that had been accessed was deleted and that no copies were posted online. It turns out a ransom was paid to have the stolen data deleted, but the TDSB has learned that the hackers did not hold up their end of the deal, and the data was not destroyed. The TDSB says it doesn't store any social insurance numbers, financial or backing information in the Power School program, so that information was not affected by this breach.
Well, the Toronto District School Board is calling on the province to change the funding formula for public education as it remains under pressure to balance its budget.
The TDSB is working to address a $58 million deficit for this school year. It has proposed closing swimming pools and eliminating music instructors to try and save money. Ontario's education minister has warned the province will probe the board's finances and may even take control of it. The TDSB says it's grappling with chronic underfunding that hasn't kept up with inflation.
Well, the Ford government has said that the TDSB is only being asked to find savings of less than 2% in a budget of more than $3 billion.
Well, there is more reaction today as Prime Minister Mark Carney briefed Canadian premiers on his meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump.
CP24's Phil Perkins joins us live from the newsroom with more on what Doug Ford had to say following that call. Bill.
Hey there, Bakari and Leah. Yeah, Doug Ford said a lot yesterday at Queen's Park, just right after the face-to-face meeting between Prime Minister Mark Carney and President Donald Trump. And now he got to, give the Prime Minister his flowers, virtually at least, singing his praises about this meeting, how well it went. Ford even going on to say that he showed restraint that he himself would not be able to control. But the Prime Minister met with Ford and the other premiers in the provinces and territories. Here's what Ford had to say about some of the priorities that he has heading into that meeting.
I'm a big believer of pipelines, big believer of getting rid of C-69, and we need to unite this country. And the way we're going to unite this country, as I mentioned to the Prime Minister in front of the premiers, show some love to the people of Alberta and Saskatchewan. And let's start diversifying our trade when it comes to oil. Let's start building pipelines west, east, north, and yes, south as well. But they're getting a discount, by the way. We ship them $100 million worth of oil. They turn it into $300 million and ship it out. I think the number, we're giving them a discount of 20%.
There's a consensus among the premiers that the Prime Minister did well yesterday to baseline a new relationship between Canada and the United States, that there was a sense of a different level of engagement, that the President is respectful of the Prime Minister, and we were all grateful that the meeting went the way that it did, knowing how some other meetings have gone in that exact same office with other world leaders.
That's BC Premier David Eby. Back to Ford's comments talking about showing love to Saskatchewan and in particular Alberta, with Premier Danielle Smith being pretty public about the province looking to break off from the rest of Canada. But Ford crediting Carney, saying that he is showing Alberta some love, contrary to what Ford said again, throwing Justin Trudeau under the bus, did not do as Prime Minister. Back to you, too.
All right, Phil, thanks so much for this. It's now 5:53, 20 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Well, fans are ready for Game 2 as the Leafs take on the Florida Panthers at Scotiabank Arena tonight. We're going to take you back to Maple Leaf Square, where CP24's Beatrice Vaisman is live. Okay, so let's head back down to Maple Leaf Square, where our Beatrice Vaisman is there. The Leafs, they are looking to tame the Florida of their second round series. We are just about an hour away from puck drop. Beatrice, you still don't have the scarf.
Yeah, the vibes here are good, Bakari. The vibes are good. The fans are excited. And it's not difficult to see why. And let's be honest here, looking at the stats, the Leafs have not won 5 playoff games in some 20 years. And so you hear the Go Leafs Go chants right now. This is what this is all about. Leafs Nation behind the boys in blue. Let's talk to some of these fans. Tell me about the hopes, the dreams for tonight.
We're going to win, baby! We are winning tonight.
What would it mean to have the Leafs win 5 playoff games for the first time in more than 20 years in your lifetime?
Speechless. I couldn't even explain it. Amazing. No words. Literally no words. We live for this moment. I'd love to be here for it.
What about goalie-wise? The goalie is the big question mark here. We know Stolars is injured. Wall is in tonight. What do you think?
They both have won just as many games. Both boys can do it. We're going to lean on Wall, and he's got this.
Fully believe. Fully believe.
Of course. Yes.
Whoa! Let me talk to this gentleman over here. How are you feeling tonight about the game?
Feeling great.
Are we going to slay the Panthers?
Oh, 4-0, baby, 4-0. Let's go!
Who in the core 5 now? I'll include Matthew Nyes. Who in the core 5 has to step up? Who needs to step up tonight, Mart? Oh, look at these socks.
I'm feeling nice, baby, nice, baby.
Nice has been doing it. Nice has been doing it. Martyr's going to score.
We've got the socks. We've got the Crocs as well. Look at these Crocs out here. Sorry, buddy. Where'd you get the sweet shoes?
Crocs.com, baby.
What are you hoping for tonight?
A big win.
What are we talking score-wise?
5-0. Let's go!
I'm hoping for our Leafs win tonight. Leafs win.
How much would it mean for you to be here with all the energy and the vibes this year?
It means a lot, man. It's a lot of fun here. I have a lot of fun. Yeah, it's good. It's good.
A lot of fun. The vibes are good. Let's get a goal, Leafs go. Let's get a goal, Leafs go. Go. Go, Leafs go! Go, Leafs go! Go, Leafs go! Just the beginning. Lean in, Bakari. Just the beginning. Puck drop is at 7 o'clock. As I mentioned, Anthony Stolar is injured after that big hit from Sam Bennett in Game 1. Joseph Wall starting in net tonight. The fans, though, they've got a lot of faith in him. It's been deja vu. He's had to step in when it mattered most in the past in the playoffs, and he's going to step up tonight as well. I mean, these fans are just excited. They're so loud with the cowbells, you might actually hear them in there tonight as well.
Okay, CP24's Beatrice Vaisman live from Maple Leaf Square. Puck drop is in 1 hour. Also, PWHL action happening at Coca-Cola Coliseum. The Scepters taking on the Minnesota Frost. Again, fans are looking on. Right now, it's 5:59, 20 degrees. This is Toronto's breaking news, CP24.